after speaking to you at home, a certain subject kept coming up, with you saying that you wanted us to talk about it more. Well, we listened. In fact, we are dedicating a whole week to the issue of fertility. There'll be guests sharing their stories and discussions throughout the week, but we're going to be starting with this. In our exclusive survey, we asked, do you worry about how your past lifestyle has affected your fertility? And nearly half of you said yes. Do you think you took your fertility for granted, Sarah?
100%. And I think as I was getting to the stage where I was looking to get pregnant, honestly, in my head, I was like, well, I've eaten well all my life. I've never taken drugs. I didn't drink alcohol. I'm fit. I've got everything that a doctor would go, yep. Perfect, all ticks, well done, go for it. And so I waited and waited, obviously, you know, career and all that, because I genuinely did not think I would be the person that would turn around and say, actually, I'm having problems. So when I started at 32, really, 34, we tried for 4 years, couldn't get pregnant. And it was because I found out I had endometriosis.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's the thing. I did take it for granted and I really shouldn't have done. And with endometriosis, do you know what? It was when I had my laparoscopy, which is when they go through, it was 34. I'd never heard of endometriosis before then. And this is the most common reason why so many women suffer infertility, but I'd never heard of it.
And it's so painful. I've got 3 friends with severe endometriosis at the moment, all struggling. I mean, you know, 3 close friends as well. And I had no idea about how dangerous and how debilitating and painful this condition is.
I was 28 when I found out that I had it, and again it was through a laparoscopy, and they found out that I only had basically 1 working tube because the other one was so scarred with endometrial tissue. So that then meant that it literally halved overnight my chances of having children, so I had to go through fertility treatment to have Finley. But yeah, it does seem it's like a cruel irony that you spend your 20s trying not to get pregnant, then you find out actually you couldn't have in the first place because you had something wrong with you. For me, it wasn't necessarily I wasn't worried about my past lifestyle because I hadn't done anything. I was like you, fit and looked after myself. I just took it for granted that when the time was right, I would then fall pregnant. You were quite lucky, weren't you, Cole, in terms of your fertility and deciding to get pregnant?
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't really think about it because you just, as a woman, like you say, you just assume that it's all going to be fine. And with Shane Jr., yeah, I felt like really, as soon as we decided we wanted a child, I fell very quickly. And it was funny because then 3 years later when I was trying for Jake, because Shane's had happened so quick, a couple of months went by and I still wasn't pregnant with Jake, and I did have that fleeting moment of, maybe I can't do this again. And it was that, I mean, luckily...
So you've had a glimpse of it?
I had a glimpse of that moment of, what if I can't? And, you know...
And then there was a gap between, obviously, Jake and Kira.
Yeah, there was like 8-10 years.
So did you have problems the second time round?
No,
third time?
I fell again. Okay. I think I'm just like my mother. I just kind of spit them out.
Well, I think it's because you're quite relaxed.
Honestly, it's just an Irish thing.
Well, you know, you're not a person that gets stressed really quickly, and I think stress plays a big part in infertility.
Yeah,
I do. You're quite a calm person.
Yes. And Linda, loads of you have been in touch about this, and Linda says fertility is a complex issue, and even when everything seems good, biologically speaking, as you say, ticking all the boxes, just the anxiety caused because you are trying to become pregnant can prevent it happening. And we hear so many stories of women
who want to adopt a child and then they get pregnant naturally. I think with me, I think the reason that I work, because I was, 31 when I had Matty. I think with me, my concern was because I had had a previous termination. So I just worried about that aspect, thinking, oh my God, I so want a child, but the time wasn't right, and for various reasons, and I didn't regret what I did, but I did worry about it. Then I did fall at 31, and then because I was then poorly after Matty, it was then 12 years later. But when I got pregnant at 41, unexpectedly, in Amsterdam, to my husband, I hasten to add. I got pregnant then, but I had this guilt because it had been so easy for me. But my best friend at the time had 4 IVF attempts, which had all failed. Thankfully, she went on to have her 5th, and it worked, and she has a wonderful son.
But do you ever worry about your children's fertility? Because obviously we're talking about our experiences back in our 20s or what have you, and obviously I mean my children are younger. Well, Finley's 18. Please, no, I'm not quite ready yet to
I think we worry about our boys not having a child more than having one at the moment.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, when we talk about fertility, we're always talking about women.
Yes.
And the other day, Zach, my son, who's 11, was sitting on the chair with his sort of computer, sort of like that. And Steve came running in, he went, "Take that laptop off your crown jewels!" And Zach went, "What, my crown jewels, Daddy?" And basically he was saying, because, you know, when you put your, you know, equipment here, it has a negative effect on your, you know, on your reproductive
heats
system.
everything up.
That's right. And so that was, I thought it was interesting that Steve picked that up for Zach. I mean, he's only 11, but I just thought it's quite good training. But also for my daughter, I think, you know, she's 8 and obviously periods will be next, but I already going to say to her, if you're feeling pain and it's uncomfortable, I'm going to take her straight to the doctor.
I do it with Kira. Kira was having problems every month, you know, really painful and, you know, heavy and all of that. And because I'd learnt about endometriosis through you talking about it on here, I take her to the doctor all the time now.
Great.
Because I just think if it's there, let's catch it in time, because like you, I didn't really know anything about it till you started talking about it.
And do you know, we talk about the menopause on this show very often as well. And Louise has said, I began the menopause at 38.
Wow.
My mum began it at 40.
Gosh.
I was 38 when I started getting my first symptoms. And my daughter's likely to go through it early. So that's a consideration as well. We're talking about fertility. Oh, really fascinating, really, really fascinating.